Have you ever pitched an idea that you knew was brilliant, only to watch the person across the table nod politely? Well, their eyes screamed, "I don't get it." That was me. Last summer, I had poured weeks into preparing a business plan for a startup accelerator. The financial projections were airtight. The technology was clever. The presentation looked like it belonged at a TED Talk. But when I finished, the lead investor leaned back, sighed, and said words I'll never forget. "Kid, you're solving a problem nobody has." That night, frustrated and embarrassed, I called my dad, the man who had built a manufacturing empire from a single delivery truck. I unloaded everything on him for 20 minutes. The pitch, the idea, the rejection, the injustice. After a long silence, he said something that completely changed how I understood business, sales, and human behavior. People don't buy logic. They buy the version of themselves they see in your offer. At first, I didn't fully grasp what he meant. But looking back now, I realized I had made every classic mistake. I believed my offer was strong because it made sense to me. What I hadn't done was make people feel it. Over time, and through plenty of painful lessons, I started to understand how to craft offers that people not only understand, but want so badly that saying no feels irrational. It took for hard-won lessons, each shaped by experience and guided by my dad's no-nonsense wisdom. What I learned wasn't how to sell harder, but how to build offers that sell themselves. Lesson 1: The Commodity Trap. My first attempt at entrepreneurship was a tutoring service in college. Simple idea: help high school students with calculus. I printed flyers, posted in forums, reached out to parents. "I'll help your kid ace calculus," I promised. When I told my dad about it, he didn't say much at first. Just one question: what makes you different from the kid charging half your rate on Craigslist? I tried to impress him with my GPA, my SAT scores, my teaching experience. He shook his head. "You're selling apples in an orchard full of apples," he said. That hit me. I had positioned myself as just another tutor. My pitch was built on credentials, not on outcomes. I was selling a service, not a transformation. And when people can't tell the difference between what you offer and the next person, they don't choose the best, they choose the cheapest. That's the curse of the commodity trap. When your product or service is indistinguishable from others, you're forced to compete on price. And in a race to the bottom, nobody wins. To escape that trap, you need to shift from selling features to selling a future. Imagine the difference between these two pitches: personal training, $99 per month versus lose 15 pounds in 30 days. Or your next month is free. Includes custom meal plans, 24/7 coach access, and your first week's groceries delivered to your door. The first is a product. The second is a promise. One invites a price comparison. The other triggers an emotional response. That's exactly what I need. Once I saw that, everything changed. I stopped talking about what I did and started talking about what people get. That subtle shift from service to transformation is what separates forgettable offers from irresistible 1S. Lesson 2: Hunting pain, not interesting. At 19, I launched what I thought was a genius idea: a finance app for millennials. It had a clean interface, smart features, and a slick onboarding experience. The tagline: "Learn to invest for long-term wealth." I was convinced it would take off. It didn't. Downloads were minimal. Engagement was worse. I brought it to my dad, hoping for encouragement. He glanced at it and said, "You're selling vitamins to people who need painkillers." I didn't get it at first. But financial literacy is important, I argued. "Sure," he replied, "but no one's waking up at 3 a.m. panicked because they didn't invest in an index fund. And that was the point. I was trying to sell something that felt good in theory, but didn't solve a pressing problem. People don't pay for improvement. They pay for relief. They don't want a guide to getting rich in 30 years. They want to stop overdrafting this week. The difference between a vitamin and a painkiller is urgency. A vitamin offer is learn how to invest. A painkiller offer is stop living paycheck to paycheck. Here's how to save $500 this month without needing a raise. The latter gets attention because it speaks to real discomfort. It offers hope, not theory. So I pivoted. I started talking to restaurant owners and learned that most of them were losing a shocking amount of money, up to 30% of profits, due to food waste. That wasn't an abstract issue. It was eating into their bottom line every single day. I built a solution around that, and clients started saying yes before I even finished the pitch. Not because I had built the best app, but because I had finally tuned into a problem they were desperate to solve. The most valuable lesson I took away: your market isn't people who might like this someday. It's people who are losing sleep over this right now. If your offer doesn't solve something urgent, it's a nice idea, not a business. Lesson 3: the premium pricing paradox. The first time I tried charging $5,000 for a consulting package, I was terrified. I kept refreshing my inbox, convinced I'd priced myself out of existence. Who was I to ask for that kind of money? When I shared my fears with my dad, he didn't flinch. "Good," he said. "You want the wrong people to say no." He explained something I never learned in business school. Low prices attract high-friction clients. The ones who pay the least tend to demand the most, question everything, and bail the moment things get hard. But when someone pays a premium, they're investing not just in you, but in themselves. They show up differently. They listen. They act. They value the process, of course. Charging more isn't just about sticking an extra zero on your invoice. You have to earn that price. And that's where Dad introduced me to a framework that forever changed how I structure offers. There are 4 levers that drive perceived value: dream outcome, certainty, speed, and effort reduction. Most people only sell the outcome. Smart sellers build in all 4. Here's what that looks like. Don't just promise, become fluent in Spanish. That's vague and overwhelming. Say, negotiate a raise in Spanish within 90 days. Now it's specific, time-bound, and financially tied. Back it up with certainty. We've helped 347 professionals do this. Watch their testimonials. Emphasize speed. Most programs take 2 years. Ours takes 12 weeks. And reduce effort. No grammar drills. Just 15-minute daily conversations. When you package your offer like this, $5,000 doesn't feel expensive. It feels like a shortcut. A smart decision. A small price to pay to finally get what they've always wanted. And the best part? The higher the price, the better the client. I've seen it again and again. You don't just make more money, you create better results. That's the paradox. People think charging more limits your market. But in truth, it filters it, leaving only the most committed, most ready to transform buyers behind. Lesson 4: the unrefusable offer. A few months ago, I pitched a $10,000 branding package to a mid-sized e-commerce company. The founder liked my previous work. We had a great call. He said he'd think about it. Then silence. A week passed. I followed up. Still nothing. I was about to write it off as a dead lead when I mentioned it to my dad. He didn't blink. What if they only pay after their sales increase by 20%? He asked Dad at first. I thought he was joking. Who offers a $10,000 service and says, "Pay me later if it works"? But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. That's what risk reversal is, making the yes easier than the no. I went back to the client with a revised offer. They'd only pay once our work had produced measurable revenue growth. They signed that same week. No back and forth. No ghosting. Just a green light and a deposit for setup costs. That experience opened my eyes. Most offers are structured to protect the seller. Terms and conditions, non-refundable deposits, fine print everywhere. But the most powerful offers flip the script. They transfer the risk from the buyer to the provider. When you take on the risk, you're sending a loud, confident message. I believe in this so much. I'm willing to bet on it. There are countless ways to de-risk an offer. Guarantees are the most obvious. Not vague ones like satisfaction guaranteed, but specific, measurable 1S. Double your revenue in 60 days, or we work for free until you do. That's bold and unforgettable. Another tactic is tiered options. Offer a $500 DIY kit, a $5,000 done-for-you package, and a $50,000 we handle everything experience. This frames the middle offer as the safe choice and allows buyers at different commitment levels to say yes. And perhaps the most underrated tool? Tangible proof. Show them how someone just like them got the exact results they wanted, ideally with numbers, screenshots, timelines. Even better, include a real phone number or email so they can verify it themselves. Transparency builds trust faster than persuasion ever could. In the end, the most irresistible offers don't push people to believe. They let people conclude. You're not forcing a sale. You're simply making it feel riskier to stay stuck than to take action. When the offer feels safer than the status quo, you've made it unrefusable. The realization, for the longest time, I thought selling was about convincing people, winning them over, outsmarting objections. But my dad's words kept echoing. People don't buy logic. They buy the version of themselves they see in your offer. I didn't get it fully until I looked back at all the times I said yes to something that changed my life. None of those moments came from spreadsheets. They came from stories, from hope, from resonance. I didn't join a gym because I compared hourly rates. I joined because the coach said, in 90 days, your kids won't believe how fast you can keep up with them. I didn't hire my first business mentor because of his resume. I did it because he made me feel like I could finally become the kind of leader I admired. The best offers don't manipulate people. They reveal a possibility so vivid, so real, so attainable that not chasing it feels like self-sabotage. It's not about being the most persuasive. It's about being the most attuned to what keeps your audience up at night, what makes them hesitate, what they secretly wish someone would finally understand. When you build an offer around that, the real pain, the real desire, the real invisible friction, then the yes doesn't have to be sold. It surfaces on its own. You stop playing the role of the salesperson. You become a mirror. And in that mirror, they see not just what you do, but who they could be. Not a user of your product, but the hero of their own story. That's what a great offer does. It doesn't just promise change. It invites identity. And that's something no price tag can compete with. The offer is you. So after all these years and false starts and faceplants, here's what I've come to believe. You don't need better slides. You don't need fancier tools. You don't even need more experience. You need to understand people better than they understand themselves. You need to listen for the problem beneath the problem. And you need to wrap your solution not in logic, but in transformation. The 4 lessons my dad taught me weren't just about business. They were about empathy, courage, and clarity. They taught me that selling isn't something you do to someone. It's something you do for them. If what you're offering can truly change their lives. And if it can, then it's your job to make it feel like the most obvious decision in the world. So here's my question for you. Just answer this. What's one problem your audience has that's so painful, so frustrating, that they would prepay you today if you solved it completely? No questions asked. Because if you can name that problem, if you can describe it better than they can, if you can map the path out of it faster and safer than anyone else, then congratulations. You're not selling anymore. You're delivering relief. You're offering identity. You're building something people don't need to be convinced of, because deep down, they already want it. And that's your next offer. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching.